evening, everyone. We're going to get right to it. We're going to start tonight's Wednesday, May 28th meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is over my shoulder.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just so everyone is aware, tonight's meeting is being recorded by Norton Media. We're going to open the agenda with our public comment period.
Is this somebody's laptop?
Yeah.
Good evening, Zach Tillis, 3 Richmond Drive. Hope all's well. I noticed that the budget was on your agenda tonight, so I just had a couple of comments. We went through another long budget season. Dr. O'Neill and Ms. Hatfield was here with us late nights, but we got it done. And I just wanted to say, the budget's moving forward. It's just going to be tighter and tighter. It just gets more and more difficult as we go along. We did get you to a level service budget, but if I may make a suggestion is I would act like you didn't get to level service budget and do all you can to turn back as much as possible, because the budgets only get more difficult as we go along. Health insurance is 10-15% every year, and it doesn't look better moving forward. This year alone, 60 communities have put overrides on their budget. Most have failed last time I checked. And just looking at the future, I'm not suggesting you lay off anybody, but I'm suggesting if somebody resigns or retires, I would think long and hard before replacing that person. So just a little bit of advice, not that it means anything, but in the back of your mind. The second thing I know I was teasing some of you, but on a serious note, more serious note, I saw your meeting where you wanted to increase the fees for people to park at the high school. We should be doing everything we can to reduce fees, not increase fees. For a few $1,000s a year, as I use an analogy that Dr. O'Neill has used before, the juice isn't worth the squeeze and upsetting people, and I would hope a member of this committee would make a motion to reconsider. That's all I got. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, Sam. Right, next is vote to approve the meeting minutes. I'm sorry, is there anybody else for public comment? Okay. All right, next is vote to approve the minutes of the May 14th, 2025 and May 19th, 2025 open session meetings. Anybody have any questions, comments, changes, subtractions?
All good?
Okay, entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next is the warrants.
You have to do both. Down with the 14th and 19th.
I think you can approve them together because
Because
everyone was present. So typically, if there's somebody that wasn't there, then we'll just do them separately.
Good.
And that was a 4-0 vote. Warrants, please.
I have reviewed the following warrants. School expense warrant, May 14th, 2025, $555,847.95. School payroll warrant, May 15th, 2025, $1,142,282.19. I wish to enter those in the public record.
Thank you. Next is our student representative updates.
Before I let our student representatives begin, I want to introduce our new student representative, Leah Scagnoli. Leah is currently a sophomore at Norton High School. Is that correct, Leah?
Yes.
And she did a beautiful job on Monday singing the national anthem at our Memorial Day wasn't really assembling at the town common. So congratulations to you. Beautiful job representing Norton and Norton High School. And welcome to the board.
Thank you so much.
Benson, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. As you know, it's a very busy time of the year, so I will try to be quick. But At the high school, the big news is all around end-of-year activities. The Memorial Day Assembly took place last Friday, and the school recognized local veterans, including Norton's own Mr. Ed Smith. Friday was also prom at Lakeview Pavilion in Foxborough. It was a fabulous night had by all. Senior events begin this week with class night tomorrow, and the Six Flags trip followed by the all-night grad party on Friday night into Saturday. The tour of elementary schools by graduates is on Monday with graduation on Wednesday. After graduation, juniors will do a spirit week to claim the role of school leaders, and congratulations to all the spring sports teams for their fine seasons. Boys volleyball and softball are competing in the tournament. At the middle school, we had numerous activities taking place. Today, our 8th graders visited Kimball Farm. We got great weather. Everyone had a great time with lots of smiles on teachers' and students' faces when they returned. NMS had its annual Best Day Ever event on May 16th. It was a real fun day that featured 8 different inflatable rides and challenges like a Velcro axe throwing and Spheres of Doom similar to the show Wipeout. It was a real fun day, and the injury to Principal Hayward's forehead is healing nicely. Tomorrow we will welcome Mallory from Minding Your Mind as our Mental Health Awareness Month speaker. Former NMS teacher Cynthia and her husband Mark Brenshaw sponsored a t-shirt. Thank you. Sponsored a t-shirt and poster contest along with a resource table at lunch tomorrow for students. All staff will be wearing Sarah's Village t-shirts. Through the efforts of NMS teacher Tanya Benoit, Minding Your Mind awarded NMS a grant to cover the cost of the speaker. They are a remarkable organization. And on Friday, NMS will hold an assembly to reveal the contents of the recently unearthed NMS time capsule buried in 2000. Team leaders, along with staff and students, have been curating items to be placed inside our 2025 time capsule that will then be sealed and set to be opened in the year 2050. Former NMS Principal Stan Koss, NMS Student Council President from the year 2000 Allison Nolan, and former grade 7 student from the year 2000 Peter Wiggins will be in attendance. Yeah! We also have several former staff coming back. Next week we'll have another busy week. Grade 6 will be visiting Southwick Zoo, and Grade 8 will be going to New York City. And for the drama production last week, Annie, once again our students and directors delivered an incredible production. This time with Annie, and left the audience absolutely amazed. More than just a fun and entertaining show, Annie reminds all of us why we do this work. Eric Beard, Jess Holliker, Mike Kramer, and Heather Traiani consistently create opportunities for students to grow, to understand the value of hard work and teamwork, and to experience what it means to be part of something bigger than themselves. Our team of directors leads at the highest level under pressure and in a very public space. That calm and confident energy transfers directly to the students, with high expectations and unwavering belief in their cast. The kids rise to meet the moment and they shine. All of the kids did an amazing job. And from the Yale, last week for Memorial Day, our 5th grade student council students did readings throughout the day over the loudspeaker to help our students remember and understand why Memorial Day is so important and not just a day off or reason to barbecue. The 5th grade students started their transition to the Norton Middle School last week as they headed over for a play and a tour. It is always an amazing day for them to help transition to 6th grade. For our upcoming 3rd grade students from the LGN and JCS, we have many things planned as well for our transitioning 3rd graders who are coming to us next year. In the coming weeks, they come to us for a Step Up Day. There's a family informational night, and Mr. Gagan and Mr. Balawa will make their yearly visits to each 3rd grade classroom to talk with them about their transition to the Yale. And finally for the Yale, our 4th graders will also check out the 2nd and 3rd floors of where they might be next year. There are many more events we will fill all of you in on as we get closer to the end of the year, including field day for both grades, 5th grade, Whaling Museum field trip, and our Hey PTO, buy one get one free Scholastic Book Fair, and more. We have a lot to look forward to for the Yale. And then for the LG, we celebrated Memorial Day with a 2nd grade concert on Friday, May 23rd, as well as the JCS. The 2nd graders did an amazing job with the songs and poems to honor the men and women who have sacrificed for our country. We had special guest Norton veterans join us for the special show. It was a great way to kick off the holiday weekend. And our 3rd graders are enjoying a field trip to Plymouth, Pawtucket museums today with a stop at the Mayflower, a replica of the ship which carried the Pilgrims to the New World. And our 3rd graders will also be enjoying their field day this Friday with Mrs. Kenny. And then finally, yesterday, I believe, yes, all 5 of our buildings participated in the Special Olympic Day Games, which we did at Foxborough High School with their district as well. And that is all from us.
Okay. All right, take a deep breath. Thank you for that, Benson. And, I want to welcome Leah. I have known Leah and her wonderful family for several years. We won't say how long. I got you. So Leah, I'm going to put you on the spot. What made you think you wanted to do this representative position?
Oh, excuse me. Well, it was Benson who originally approached me with the idea and said that he thought that I would be good for it. And really, that made me think about, I love to be able to represent the people in my community who may not have a voice, and the people especially in my school. So I'm really going to take this as an opportunity to work with my peers and try to make things better for them.
Great. Okay. Any questions for Leah?
I think we may need you to have to sing the national anthem at every meeting, or lead the Pledge of Allegiance perhaps, because that was a beautiful rendition that you did.
Thank you so
It was
much.
wonderful.
Thank you.
And then I just wanted to say a couple words to Benson or off of what he had said. Benson, first, thank you so much for all of the photos that you've been posting. I think it's really nice and really opens up the community to see all of the stuff that is happening in our schools. And then also to echo Annie, I did go to see it and it was phenomenal. I had to remind myself that they were middle schoolers because it really was such a fantastic performance. I actually went twice, and so thank you to Dr. O'Neill and Mr. Hayward for letting me come in the afternoon for my middle child to go and see it. And then I ended up going, I brought my oldest later on in the evening, and it was just a wonderful performance. I can't speak highly enough of how well they did. So kudos to the entire NMS Drama Department and their families and the staff that supported them. It really was a great show and production. So.
Great. All right. Moving on to our next item, our student spotlight. Dr. O'Neill.
Good evening. So tonight I am excited to showcase the Norton Middle School Woodworking Club. And I believe Mr. Kramer is in the audience with one of his students. Please come up to the podium and share your work.
Good evening. This is Evan, I'm going to mess up his name, Farquharson. He's one of our 6th grade students here. He took part in the woodworking club, and it's just one of the many clubs that middle school offers. But Mr. Hayward saw this project and thought it would be a good idea to share it with you. We do a variety of projects in the woodworking club, but this one kind of stood out as something that he liked, so I come here to share it with you. I did bring some pictures so you can kind of see the process here. That we go through. So basically, we start with an idea, obviously, and this year we decided to do an American flag, so it comes out with all the flag stripes. Makes it easier to stain and stuff like that, so the kids really enjoyed cutting that and making those parts. I think the highlight of the project is they got to go out back and add an accent with the torches. So that was a lot of fun. We contacted the fire department and all that. I didn't know what was going to happen with this idea, so it was a lot of fun for the kids to go out back and do this. So we have 20
Maybe next
kids.
time they don't do sandals, though.
Didn't notice that. We have 20 kids involved in the program, so it was a lot of fun. They're very patient with each other and helping each other. And we were talking like how it looks like toast. So like, how do you like the toast, light, dark? And that's how we affected that. And then we set up out back at the middle school. We set up a lot of tables so that we could get all our pieces done with 20 kids and 13 stripes and a union there. It needed some space, so it was a good opportunity to go out back. We had good weather every day, which we were lucky, so that's kind of what it looks like. They got their first introduction to using stencils, so that's what gave us the 50 stars. They learned a lot about how stars are placed. You got to have a point up, things like that, so it was a great learning opportunity for the kids to learn about the flag. And then we came to Clampin. I can't say enough about our staff. We have Jason Charette there. He's the custodian in my wing, and every day you walk by and see these kids with all these parts, and he would pop in every day and just help any struggling student. He was just a great asset to our school and helping all the kids in my wing, so I'm happy to have him there. But you can see all the kids working on clamping and trying to manipulate all the pieces to make sure they're lined up correctly, and so they didn't pop or anything like that. Then they also got to use the nail gun for the first time, which was fun for them. Again, there was a lot of opportunities for them to learn different things in the club. But these are some of the final results, we start putting clear coat on, and you can see everybody has their own characteristics with the burn marks, which is nice. So I did have other students, Sadie Britton there, she was one of the 8th graders there, was one of the leaders in the club there, which helped a lot of the other kids along the way. You can see some didn't want to do the burn in there, so everybody gets to add their own individual touch to it. So it was a great opportunity for the kids to do a lot with the woodworking club. So happy that we get the support that we do from Mr. Haywood and everybody else here that supports clubs at the middle school. So happy to share that with you if you want to learn how to show them yours.
Great work.
That's great. Bring it right up.
Amazing job, Evan.
Good work. Great work.
Good work, Evan.
So how much, time did they have on each, like what was the time frame on the project beginning to end?
It's hard to say because we do multiple projects, so they overlap. So
Okay.
like we kind of feed these in, so they would go stain some pieces, and that would take time to dry, and then they'd go work on another project at the same time. So it's a timetable. We have to run, I don't even know, 20 days. I don't keep count. I just keep going with it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not nitpicking time. The kids seem happy and they do their work, so I'm just happy to do that.
Great. Great work.
Oh, thank you. But before I leave, we did make an extra one for the superintendent's office.
Oh, thank you. Evan, what was your favorite part of this project?
Probably the burning.
The burning? Mr. Kramer. And we'll each stand on one side, right? And then...
Just don't take credit, Mrs. O'Neill.
Thanks, Vince.
Everyone that knows me knows I could not have made that. This looks awesome. Very, very nice. And do you, is it like woodworking club? What other projects have you done?
We made a candy machine.
Ooh, a candy machine. And are those at schools that I could come by and check them out, or are they already at home?
They're
Oh, okay, all right.
Let's go quick.
And is it 6th, 7th, and 8th graders?
Yep, everyone has the opportunity. We limit it to around 20 kids, just for safety and manipulating all the parts and stuff like that, and store kind of stuff.
Evan, what grade are you in?
I'm in 6th grade.
In 6th grade, very nice. And I think your sister's a senior, Lily, right?
Willie Parkinson.
I thought so.
Everyone
Very
across the team.
nice. Awesome job. Thank you so much for coming out. Thank you, Mr. Kramer, as well.
Well, thanks for having us. It's a share.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Just real quick, so I was actually at the middle school last week helping out with Annie, and I was back in the arts wing. And I went into the woodworking shop to grab a chair, and I saw one of these, and I was like, whoa, that's impressive. So now I've seen the whole thing from start to finish, it's like, whoa, that's really impressive. So you should be very proud of yourself. Those are super cool. So good job.
Can we order some for next year? Pay for supplies? Great work.
It looks like we've got a couple more kids walking in to show flags. All right. We'll move on, and then when I come in, we can...
All right, next is the class of 2025 recognition. Dr. O'Neill.
So as Benjamin mentioned earlier tonight, we are kind of kicking off senior week tomorrow night with our class of 2025 class night. This is a great event where we all gather together at Norton High School to review the success and achievements of the class, and it's also a scholarship night. So I know many of the school committee members are attending, and then next Wednesday night we have graduation at the Xfinity Center. So I just wanted to share some quick data with all of you about our class of 2025 post-secondary plans. 72.5% of our students will be attending a four-year college. Another 10% will be attending a two-year college. We have about 9% of our students that are going into a trade or tech school or an apprenticeship. Some of these include the Carpenters Union, Penn State Turf Management Certificate. We might need that to come and check out our turf. A 911 operator, a welding program, and a cosmetology program. We have about 8% of our students that are either entering the workforce or taking a gap year. We have one student who is going to be working for the Sharon DPW, and we have 3 students that have earned their CNA certificate and will be working in that field. And then we have 0.5 or 1 student who will be joining the U.S. Air Force through the U.S. Air Force Academy. So super, super proud of all of our kids. They have done an incredible job. This is a great class of 2025. I've also included some sample colleges for you. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but we've got Bentley, Bridgewater State, Bryant, Florida State, James Madison University, Mass College of Pharmacy, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, Rochester Institute of Technology, Stonehill, I have to say that one because that's my alum, University of Nebraska, University of North Carolina, University of Tennessee, Vassar, and Wesleyan, those just to name a few. So kudos to this awesome group of seniors. I am very excited to celebrate with them over the next week, and looking forward to see what they do after Norton High School.
Having been on this committee for a few years, this is the favorite time of year for me because I love to see what the next step is for these kids. I used to talk to Mr. Cersei, like, where are they going? What are they doing? And he's like, it's all on social media, follow them there. And it's so funny to see like names you recognize, and kids will post where they're going with their senior picture. And I follow it every year, and I can't wait for my youngest to be posted there next year with whatever she decides. So this is always, and this shows the hard work these kids put in to be, some of these are, tremendous universities. And then there's the ones that decided that maybe college isn't for them, and maybe they're taking some time, and all of this is really good work by our senior class, and it happens every year, which is a testament to our staff at Norton High School and our staff throughout the district. So congratulations to our seniors. We look forward to celebrating with you.
Right, me too. The mayor will be celebrating that last night. I attended Senior Sunset. It was awesome.
Thank you, Peter. All
How
right.
many, how many are graduating? Do you know off the top of your head, sorry?
168? Thank you.
In my class 20 years ago, it was 135.
We've grown a little bit.
So I know we have some other guests that want to join us.
Miscommunication, but it's Sadie and Willa Britton. They're an 8th grader and a 6th grader, sisters that joined the woodworking club. And I think Sadie, you've been with us 3 years. Yeah, she's been with us all 3 years, made a variety of projects with us. So I just want to give them an opportunity to share their work, and you can see their unique taste in burning and their work that they do.
Those are absolutely beautiful. You guys did an incredible job.
Is this going to turn into a side hustle, girls? Something you can start doing at home?
Wait till they see what they cost. No, Nancy, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right, we gotta ask, what was your favorite part of making it?
Willow, what about you?
Maybe like painting it because it was cool to like we stayed there and then we like wiped off the excess stain and that was cool.
Very good, they look great. So where are you hanging them both at home, or are you putting them in different locations? Both at home?
Yeah.
They look great. Nice job.
Great work.
Good work.
Our families that are here for the student demonstration, you please do not have to stay the whole time. We will not be insulted at all if you leave.
We should just add that as, we get to this part of the meeting, we usually say that at every meeting.
It's usually like our break. Thank you so much for coming and sharing that.
Great
This
work,
is
everyone.
incredible.
Thank you. All right, next is our college and career pathway updates with Mr. Cersei, Mrs. Prue, and Mrs. Kazikas. Oh, don't let him talk for you.
All right. Gotta make it low so you can hear it. Okay. Thank you very much. All right, so before we begin, we're going to cover all the pathways and the ways that we get our students prepared for college and the search process and the application process. But I just wanted to state this. These women are absolutely the keys to the cog, but there are so many other folks that have created some of the pathways and support our students, both the administration, the ACs, and the teachers. Really, we wouldn't be able to do some of this work without them. So, just real quickly, because we have a lot of slides, and Dan told me to go fast. So, this is kind of just an outline of what we do for our college and counseling and events. As you can see, there's quite a lot that goes on, from senior assemblies and seminars that we do with them, to senior college nights for students and families, which is a little bit of a repeat of what we do for families and students their junior year. So they get kind of a double dose. Some folks and some of our students are really ready come May of their junior year. Other folks maybe not quite there yet, so we do both. We meet individually with all of the seniors, especially, and we do kind of prioritize based on their needs and what they're doing in terms of, are they going early acceptance, early decision, so forth, and their deadlines. We do a college financial aid night for families, 11th and 12th. We've had a college fair, as you can see. We have over 60 colleges and military representatives. But we don't just, focus on the juniors and seniors. We also do stuff for the 9th and 10th graders, and introducing them to Naviance and the career exploration seminars there. We have PSATs for all our juniors. And then throughout the fall, we have college reps coming in and meeting with students. They can sign up individually during usually LLB. And then in November, we start for the junior parents and families, the college career planning. And we do this in two parts. The first part is really about the search process. Back when kind of Jen and I first started, we did it all at once, and it's like drinking from a fire hose, so we decided to break that up a little bit. And then in December, we have a partnership with BCC and BSU for our College 101. So it's kind of an introduction for parents to what it's going to look like, what to consider, what you can do as a freshman, and what you can do as a sophomore to get yourself prepared. Then we move into our calendar events for the winter and spring. Again, we continue with sort of those individual senior meetings. 11th grade assembly for course selection expectation. I'm really focused on making sure they understand what the college is going to be looking for, why junior year is so important. We do, the ACs do presentations on AP courses and the selection for those. We meet with our 9th, 10th, and 11th graders to do seminars and LOBs to cover the course selection process, but also, again, thinking about, okay, what are you looking for? Are you looking to go to college? Are you looking to go to the trades? What kinds of opportunities are there for you? We have our senior scholarship assembly, in which we beg all the seniors to fill out the one Google form that we do for them, so their moms and dads will come back and yell at us later. Then we do individual student meetings regarding course selection. So that's really where we delve into, okay, what are you thinking? Do you have enough courses? Have you challenged yourself? But also we talk a lot about balance as well. So we ask them about their extracurriculars and so forth and so on. We have a second financial aid night for 11th to 12th grade parents. Again, the 12th graders, they're starting to get their acceptance letters, and what does that mean and what's that look like? And then we do our part 2 for the 11th grade families. Again, we have a representative. We do our part about what it's going to look like to actually follow through with the process, but then we have somebody, one of the deans comes from BSU and really talks about what the colleges are looking for and how they should interact with the colleges to be successful in that way. And then you see we do 11th grade college and career seminars, and then 11th grade does their college essays in their junior classes. So that's kind of the rundown real quick. Some of the things we really want to highlight is we do have dual enrollment. I think everybody knows about our AP classes, but we do have dual enrollment. Right now we have partnerships. These are all places that students are currently going to be, I should say, next year we'll be taking courses. We have somebody taking through Harvard, Bridgewater State, Wheaton, Massasoit, BCC, and so forth. We have a pre-college program that we've been very lucky to work with Wheaton College the last 2 years. They've offered 10 students, both this year and last year, full placements in their pre-college program, where they get, I I think it's 3 full courses that they take over the summer, along with a lot of activities that kind of get them the understanding of what it's like to be in college, both social and then career driven, as well as it's an athletic component, so they can take, there's swimming, there's weightlifting, kind of giving them a dose of what it might be like to be a college athlete. So that's great, and anybody that commutes there, it's free, but they also have a residential component if they want to. And we had 10 students, and they were stars, to be honest with you, with high marks from Wheaton. We've also had early colleges, I think you know, for a while. And we've worked mostly with Middlesex Community College. We currently have 3 courses that are being offered. And then next year, we are going to be partnering with Quincy College, and it's going to be more of a concurrent program. And so currently there's 4 courses that they've approved. We haven't quite made that public yet, which courses are going to be, because we're still kind of finalizing if there's going to be some additional courses as well. These are both the teachers have to, you know, some of our teachers are willing to do this, others are waiting to see how it kind of plays out. But it's been very successful. Students have really given a leg up on their college credits. Again, just other things that we do to help students. All of our presentations are recorded. They're all done on Zoom, and then they're presented, and we add additional things as well. We have a college planning guide that's pretty intense. You can fast link to all kinds of pieces of all of the various parts from first generation, financial aid, just about anything you can think of is in there. And I think having it recorded, a lot of parents, you know, can't make it that night. Things are going on, they can go back and watch it. I thought about going back to live presentations, but I had a dad reach out to me who was stationed overseas and said it was the first time he'd been able to take part in something and then be able to call back and have a conversation. So I was like, you know what, I think we'll stay with what we're doing. So that was a pretty cool thing. I'm not going to go too much into this, but I mean, the other pathways, right? So there's college, and obviously, you know, almost 73% of our students have gone, actually higher if you think about our 2-year programs are going on to a post-secondary. But I think it's important to give students opportunities, and we've had the business technology program available. That's a Chapter 74 program. We're one of the few high schools that have that kind of program within our system. And they have 3 different pathways, as you can see there. And some of those kids go on to college, others decide that they're going to take up and start their own business. We actually had somebody in the parking lot today who started his own business, detailing business, and he was out detailing some staff cars today. So, you know, mobile detailing, and he's done very well from what I understand. So, there's all kinds of components, not just the academic pieces of it, but also the work-based learning components. So there's internships, there's professional mentoring, work-based learning opportunities, job shadowing, etc. They also do a senior project, or they can do a senior project as part of their outline. So those are just a little bit about that program. And there's currently over 50 high school students, kind of consistent. And that's Chapter 74, so budget-wise, that brings us a little extra money in as well. That doesn't hurt. And those students that are part of the program also have the opportunity to go to BCC and take some early college dual enrollment programs for free, at least for now. And then, as you know, we've been growing the advanced manufacturing pathway. This is really something that Dr. Dulliman and Kerry Murphy have really been a big part of, and that's advancing with some new technology coming in next year for our students. And this kind of just goes over what they need to do, the courses that they need to take, and the kinds of opportunities they have. The great thing about the advanced manufacturing is that it really opens up doors for students who, you know, maybe they want to be an engineer, they can do that. Maybe they want to go into the business realm of that particular industry, or they're more looking to work, you know, in the manufacturing component itself, that there's opportunities there. So it really opens doors for all of our students in all their various interests and academic levels. All right, I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Prue now.
I will try. I'm not that good at this. Okay, the pre-apprenticeship program. We are the first non-tech high school to bring the pre-apprenticeship program into a non-tech school. The Chapter 74 is the loophole that I found. So we were able to bring it in. The Mass DOT comes in for a week and they do all the training. And Dale is one of our students, one of our success stories. He's up there on the website. He went through the program, got ranked very highly, and got a paid co-op this past spring for Sharon DPW, and they offered him a job at the end of the year. He also, do you want to tell them what else he's done now?
Sure.
Since he's done a couple of programs.
Yeah, Dale's been, was one of my youth work students. We worked over the summer here for the Norton Facilities Department, mowing lawns, helping him fix lawn mowers and that sort of thing for a summer. And then the following summer, I helped him get a job in the Norton Department of Public Works, helping them out there. The following year, he went to Sharon Department of Public Works, where he was working this year, and Grey will be going when he graduates. So, and he also does work study as well. So, yes.
So he took advantage of a lot of the opportunities that we have.
I think the other important thing is the staff this year, sorry. The staff this year, because he was working at the DPW the second semester, staff really worked with him with our rotating schedule to make sure he's able to meet his graduation requirements, but continue to have that opportunity to work and lead to a full-time job. So there was flexibility needed by the teaching staff, and they did a lot to help support him in this process. And there's been other students as well. I know last year we had one that presented, so.
So these are just pictures of some of the students. And essentially, it's a full week. Monday they come in, they do introductions, they work with the resumes, they do cover letters, they meet with people from the DPW, they do just work zone safety, all the different particulars. They have Zoom meetings with a bunch of people from Mass DOT. Tuesday, they do more construction math. They go out surveying. The students get all their PPE. We don't pay for anything. They come in and they give us everything. Wednesday's a field trip to Hopkinton, and it's all hands-on. So whenever we go, whatever they're doing there, the kids go in and they participate. They had me driving an excavator one time. The kids were driving. They were laying pipe. They were jumping in. So it's all hands-on experience. Thursday, they get their CPR first aid training. And then Friday, we do concrete forms. We actually talked about next year, typically they just do the framing and forms, and then we can't leave them there, so they end up like picking them up, bringing them home, or doing something with them. Next year, what we're going to try to do is build something that can stay in the school. So we need to kind of figure out what exactly it can be, but they're talking about probably bringing in like a concrete truck or something like that, a little bit bigger. So again, trying to make it hands-on and experience for them that they don't necessarily have. It is limited to 15, 20 students. It is something where they get ranked throughout the week. If they do well, there are different benefits that come from it. So we've had students that are continuously ranked very, very high, and a number of them, I think this year, 3/4 of them were ranked high. So they get, if they go into the laborers union, they get 3 hours of credit towards that year's class. Oh, sorry, 30. What did I say? 30. Yeah, sorry, 30. So they essentially get like a pay raise. They're also eligible for a 4-week paid co-op. We've had 3 students do that right now. The students that were in it this past spring, we have 3 of them that are going on interviews in Marlborough. Did I say that right? For our summer paid co-op. So if they also are going to have the opportunity for paid co-ops for next year as well. And 2 students that have done, they did Sharon, and where did PJ go? No, the DPW, he went somewhere. Mansfield, I think it was Mansfield. Both of them were also offered jobs. PJ ended up going to the Carpenters Union. But again, opportunities that they necessarily wouldn't have had. They also are eligible to get their Class B license, hoisting, drone, all that other kind of stuff. So, and this is them. They're out in the back of the school learning how to survey. And this is some of the field trip stuff that we do. And then I've also partnered with the Carpenters Union. So we called it Shop Days. There were 4 last year. This year we had 3, just because more schools were partnering with them. but we can take about 10 students, 10 to 12, and we go up there and they spend the entire day and they go through the facility and they train them on different things. So they'll do finish work, they'll do framing, yeah, they use all the equipment there. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. But again, this is some pictures of the students in Mulberry. And then that's you.
That's me. All right, these are just some of the flyers that I send out to the kids. We put them all around the school and such for them to see the different things that we're doing. Which button am I pushing? Thank you. Okay, so I get a grant that I can help some students do YouthWorks for kids that have some obstacles to maybe getting a job and need a little extra support. So I work with them to find them. I work a lot with the facilities department here with Greg Lazat, and he's very great, and he takes on some of the students and they work in the buildings, helping to keep them clean. We work over the summer and during the school year to help with our custodial department, and they've been great mentors to these kids, and the kids love it. They love this job, actually, and it's really worked out well. In addition to that, they do some, I do what's called signaling success, which are work readiness skills that I go over with those students as well as part of it. And we also had some of the kids go through a CNA program where they got a full CNA program paid, including their scrubs, their textbooks, their clinicals. They get the whole thing paid for through this program, which is a great opportunity for some of our students that are interested in going into the medical field. And a few of the people that have gone through the CNA program are going on to college to be nurses now, so which is great. So this is sort of my year. Sort of a snapshot of the things that we do throughout the course of the year. In October, I do a career day we have all the sophomores go through this where they meet with local businesses. They come in and talk to them about careers or what they do and how they got there. And we rotate the kids through and they get to hear 3 speakers. They get to pick which what they're interested in different fields, and they go and get that opportunity to see what they might want to do when they graduate, so see different things. In December, I do a job fair. That's for all the students in the cafeteria. A lot of times, local businesses come in if they're offering part-time jobs for the kids for like the season or whatever, and the kids really like that. They've made some good connections. I've actually had some kids get hired right out of these job fairs in the cafeteria, so which is great. February, we do the Credit for Life for our juniors. It's a financial literacy program sponsored by Northeast Savings Bank, and other banks come and help them as well. And it's all the juniors go through that. They pick an occupation, pretend that they're like 25 and they've gotten on to a little bit of adulthood, and they have to decide how much money they're going to spend on housing, cars, food, entertainment, and that sort of thing to give them a real life sense of, you know, money doesn't grow on trees. And when you run out, you have to make some tough decisions. In March, we just started the career series for our juniors and seniors. These are small groups that will come in, such as like Electric Boat will come in and talk to the kids about those opportunities. I've had realtors come in, hairdressers come in, trucking companies come in, just a variety of different things. We kind of decide in guidance like what kids are interested in and what they might want to see. And so then I reach out to the community and get those people to come into school, and they meet in small groups, and the kids have the opportunity to hear what these careers are like, and then also ask questions in a very nice environment. A small group is nice for them sometimes. And in April is the main event, the Opportunities Fair. All our juniors and seniors go, and again, local businesses, technical schools, community colleges, and the military all come in. Some of the jobs are for students that are underclassmen, need part-time jobs for the summer, but they also, some of these people are employing full-time after graduation. That kids can go right into these jobs. So those are basically a snapshot of the year and the different ways that I interact with all of the students there. In addition to that, I spend a good part of my day writing resumes, reading resumes, correcting resumes. I do that with both my, I go into the internship class and work with the students that are in internship, and I do cover letters, resumes, elevator pitches, interviewing, and those types of things with them. I also do that with all the work study students that I work with, and any other kid that just needs some help with that, including helping them write college resumes. Sometimes some kids need a college resume, so I can help them with that as well. I practice interviewing a lot of kids. If they're going on a job interview, they'll come in and they're all very nervous looking at their feet. So yeah, we do a few dry runs on what questions they might be asked, what answers they might want to give, and that really seems to help. I do have about 25 or so kids coming through the work-study program. I meet with them once a month to do all these activities with them. They all work a minimum of 10 hours a week at real jobs where they get paid, and we keep track of them a little bit, which is a great opportunity for them to start doing that work-life balance of school and a job. And also help on field trips. I think I went with Jen to one of those excavation things and the workshop days, and I've also taken them to DPW field trips at the beginning of the year. Help kids find the part-time jobs, do the internship classes, one-on-one meetings with whoever needs it. I facilitate all the military visits when they come to the school during lunch blocks and come in and meet with the students. I set all those up, help them with job searches, teach them how to use Indeed, and then I'm also on the STEAM committee showcase. Oh, okay, so just a little snapshot of the community partners. So during the course of the year, there's more than over 50 companies. Sometimes I get told that I'm having too many come in the cafeteria, and the custodians tell me we've run out of tables. So that's a good problem to have. So these are just a snapshot of a few of the companies that come and partner with us on a regular basis. Every year I try to find new and different companies to come in and find new partnerships. And the kids really seem to like it, and these people love coming into the school and interacting with the kids. So I think we're really lucky to have this support from our local community as well. And then this is just one of the things we did was the Core Reporter program. We had students come in and actually learn how to use those machines, and they came in like once a week for a couple of weeks into my office, and we sort of showed them how to do all of that. And that's just another one of those things we did for juniors and seniors, a career that nobody ever thinks about, but it can be a very nice career for somebody with the right skill set.
That's it? Questions for us? There's a lot.
I have 14 questions.
There you go.
I did have one question though. From your experiences, and I know things have kind of go up and down with this particular topic, are we seeing more colleges looking for SATs, or is it kind of, I know for years they weren't, and now I'm hearing they are, so
I think
is there...
that's coming back, yeah. To the top tier, top colleges especially, are going back. They've always been, or their departments are. So the college maybe, hey, we're test optional, but we're always telling the kids, make sure, right, you know, for example, nursing, engineering, like you're not getting in if you don't do your SATs, so yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
With the Wheaton stuff, do we have any concerns about, I don't know, people have kind of seen their funding levels. Is there any concern about cutting of the programs or anything along those lines that we should be kind of on our radar?
At Wheaton?
At Wheaton, yeah.
Not that I know of. I mean, they approached us last year to do this program. I mean, I'm guessing there's a benefit to them, right? So they're getting 10 students that they can kind of trust are being referred for the right reasons, that then are part of the classroom, engage with the students, taking part in the activities, and you know, I think it helps. Let's be honest, you know, nobody does nothing for free. But they've been a great partner in that, and it's been, like I said, the students that went last year raved about it. We had a number of students who wanted to go again, but we had to tell them you couldn't do that. But so no, I think it's been a good thing. I haven't heard anything there.
This is all great stuff, by the way. Phenomenal job.
Thank you.
I think number one, I want to thank Jen and Heidi and Vinny for being here tonight. And you know, as I said, there's so many other people that kind of support all of these programs at the high school. I think that it's incredible to see the amount of things that we offer to students. You know, as we said earlier tonight, we've got about 82% of the students going to college next year, whether it's a 2-year or 4-year program. But helping kids to understand that there are so many opportunities out there for them. I love seeing our student Dale and all the success that he's had going through the Youth Works program and some of the other programs. There truly is something for everyone at Norton High School. One of the things that we've talked a lot over the last few years is how challenging is for students to get into Southeastern Regional as, 8th graders, rising 9th graders. And I'm really proud of the work that the high school has done to develop programs and really find other things for students at Norton High School. I also want to mention the School to Career Partnership that Heidi was sharing with us. For those people in the audience that aren't aware, it's a consortium of 5 communities, so Norton, Attleboro, North Attleboro, Seekonk, and Mansfield. And I get to attend meetings 2 or 3 times a year as part of the board, as the superintendent of one of those communities. And this year, Norton had the most students participating in programs that are offered by School to Career. And I don't mean the highest percentage, like the most students. Norton High School had more students than Attleboro High School participating. And so when we think about our small community and our smaller high school, it's really a testament to our staff and to these programs that we're really able to provide a comprehensive experience for our students. So thank you to all of you for being here tonight. I'm proud to share with the school committee and with the audience all the great work that's been happening. As Nick said, this is really great work. And I think it's something that doesn't get showcased enough. Like, we're doing really great things at Norton High School, and I wish more people in the community realize that.
Thank you.
All right, our next item is review and vote on high school handbook updates with Dr. Dahl and Mr. Shaughnessy.
I'll take this opportunity to just to publicly thank those who presented here today. Definitely Heidi, Jen have brought amazing programs to Norton High School. The Attleboro School to Career Partnership has been one of the best relationships that we've had as far as the things that they've brought to our school. And some of the sneaky things that you didn't realize up there, they have Subway pitching for summer jobs alongside Electric Boat, which is actually a General Dynamics company for kids to work on nuclear submarines if they want to right out of high school, get their college degree while they're working there. So just the broadest array of opportunities for our students. So thank you very much for them for presenting here today too, to bring some highlight to that. So we're here just to talk about some of the changes or adaptations and additions that we'd like to bring to the Norton High School handbook for next year. On the memo that you have in front of you, really just covers a little bit of the process. It's the same process we've used for the last 3 or 4 years, where we just essentially put out a handbook for comment to all of our faculty. We discussed it at our academic coordinator meetings, as well as our site council. This year we actually built in professional learning communities, which is every teacher in the building who meet for one period to take a look at some of the features that we're proposing this year. We bring together students through an ad hoc group, solicit feedback that way, and then we obviously approve it through our site council and submit it here. So the way we try to get as many different constituents as possible, giving us some input on what we'd like to do for our student handbook. And this year, kind of leading it off there's a few of them kind of just going right down through. The first one that we had up here has to do with cell phones. And this is something that actually we have brought up a couple times here as far as a practice. And we're kind of coming back again, looking to add a little bit of a caveat for the high school. In this case, it is to have students codified in the handbook that students are expected to place their cell phones in a rack that is basically provided in every single classroom. This is something that we looked at the school committee policy, which is in the handbook right now, where the operative phrase there is the manner of enforcement for student compliance off and away is the teacher discretion. This year as staff, we talked about how important it was for a myriad of reasons, from distraction, connectedness, paying attention obviously to instruction, but also eliminating some of the distractions like social media that might lead to negative behaviors happening in bathrooms, things like that. And so we set it as a common expectation throughout the building that teachers would manage it this way, at their discretion. We're all going to buy in to do it. And we'd like to really, I think we had some successes of that, and we'd like to continue to strive to make it more consistent across the board. This is really one of the proposed things from the State Commission there, which released some guidance on this. The very lengthy title that the Massachusetts Attorney General came out with was Cell Phones and Social Media in Schools, a toolkit for school leaders and communities. This is kind of the middle ground that they proposed in that, different from off and away, kind of puts it between no policy essentially, or having no cell phones at all in school. So it's kind of a way to really limit the use of cell phones by students in classrooms, while allowing them to have them passing time, cafeteria, during our flexible learning block as well, LLB. So that was just that couple of sentences what we're going to add to the existing policy, which is off and away, and just remove any ambiguity for our teachers as far as what they would be doing to enforce that in their classroom. Should I go through all of them, or should I wait for questions on individual ones?
Mr. Chair?
Sorry, I was actually reading it. No, if you want to kind of give us the highlights of each one, and then we can circle back with any questions.
Sure. So the next one is just a tweak to our eligibility for athletics. Currently, what our language is what it is in the MIA handbook, which is this idea of passing the equivalent of 4 core academic courses. And that is something that's pretty broad and pretty vague from the MIA that covers also schools that do called block scheduling, where a student might actually only take 4 classes per semester. Some schools have that type of schedule. We'd like to raise it up here to at least 5 classes being passed. And if there are 2 failures, one of those can't be in a core academic class, so something like English, history, math that are required for graduation. So this also allows our athletic director to more easily kind of sift through who might be ineligible, finding basically students who might fail 2 courses, taking a look at those courses. You know, if there are 2 electives, then that student would remain eligible. But if there is something that is English and business course or something like that, they would not be eligible. So making sure that those failures are not taking place in some of our core requirements for graduation. The next thing is something that actually, again, we had in our handbook previously and have taken out. And it kind of goes hand in hand with the next one, which is students in good standing. And essentially what we're looking to do is to encourage positive attendance. This year we have sort of our critical attendance team that met with some students who exceeded thresholds of critical attendance, which we define as basically 10% of the school year. That comes from the state as well. We sent some letters to students who had surpassed that threshold as well. But what we're seeing is that we kind of need something that's an incentive, which is being in good standing and being able to exercise a bunch of privileges, as well as somewhat of a consequence. And previously we had the consequence in our handbook. We actually took it out 2 years ago, and we're looking to hopefully kind of reinstate it. And essentially what it is if students are absent, unexcused, which is an acknowledged absence. In our handbook we kind of divide between something that's documented from a medical provider or bereavement versus something that is an acknowledged handbook or an acknowledged absence, which means that a parent has excused that person, but it might not be for an approved reason, like going on vacation, for instance, is one of those. And so that's not an excused absence, but we are not going to say that you're truant, that you're skipping class or skipping school entirely. And so basically those are unexcused absences, which we'd like to institute a grade reduction. In this case, if a student's grade was higher than 59, it would be lowered to a 59. Now that would also come into play with a attendance improvement plan, which could restore that grade if the student's attendance improved. So the idea here is to have some consequence for attendance that is sort of universal, but also ways that it can be recovered. Having previously when we looked at this policy, we kind of surveyed all of our area schools, and many schools have this practice. Some of them do grade reductions, some of them do credit reductions. We find that the grade reduction is a little bit of a neater and more recoverable thing. We don't quite know if we were to reduce the credit in an English course, let's say, and a student had 3.75 credits as opposed to 5, what that actually would do when a college looks at it. We would have to answer that question whether that would actually fulfill our graduation requirements, or that student have to take another semester of English. So we have opted really to lower the grade or grade reduction as a consequence there, really because it is easier to recover and build forward. So that goes hand in hand, as I mentioned, with good standing. The idea here is that we have a privilege system at Norton High School. Some of the things that we talked about with school to career, work study, internships, we have other opportunities, VHS, and also we have something called senior privilege, which allows students to basically choose what they want to do with their time. If they're enrolled in work study, they work after school, but they get a block of release time at school, and that allows them to leave campus and return. But what we'd like to do, that's a privilege. We'd like to put in place sort of common language on this idea of a student in good standing to be able to exercise that privilege. So they would still be able to do work study, they would still be able to do VHS, but in order to exercise that privilege of being able to leave campus, those types of things, they would have to be in good standing. We have this language in many different ways in our handbook already. For instance, if a student wants to go to prom, they have to have basically all of this criteria fulfilled. If they want senior privilege, they have to have good academic standing and kind of laid out there. The addition this year in kind of keeping and trying to have actually some similar language to the middle school is to develop a rubric that we would look at a little bit more holistically. Right now, what we do is we generate a spreadsheet of students fitting this criteria, and we look at if they've missed one criteria, they are ineligible. What the rubric would allow us to do is just basically create the same list, but take a look at a student who's struggling to meet the attendance expectation, might lower them. But at the same time, they're tardy quite frequently, but they're getting all A's, they're on the high honor roll. So in that case, they would not be eliminated from being in good standing because of one criteria, because of how much they are exemplary in another. So it would be basically done again as a way to reward or provide an incentive for students to improve attendance, improve academic standings. Obviously, behavior is part of that as well. Whereas our attendance penalty would essentially be a consequence and more of a stick versus carrot type of mentality when we're trying to improve attendance. The next two, eligibility for international travel and overnight travel. And so where this comes from is we really didn't have anything in our handbook when we're talking about international travel, or also some activities that have overnight travel out of state to different conferences or other trips. We wanted to have something in place that sort of said who it was that was eligible. Attending those trips is also a privilege, and therefore we believe should be tied to the good standing. And then there's additional language in there because over the years we have had situations where as a school district we were concerned for the safety of students on trips. And we really didn't have any language to have a collaborative conversation with the family about who would be attending and why. We're not trying to exclude anyone with this language, and oftentimes this would be something that might be acute, that we really can't accommodate certain medical needs or mental health needs on a trip abroad in a foreign country, and it's very difficult for us to have a conversation. So what we're looking to do is put in place some guidelines that would allow us to have a conversation about how we could accommodate those things, which is our practice right now anyway. But that if it's something that we really feel is going to put the student's safety in jeopardy, or even the safety on the trip, we want to have the ability to basically not allow that student to go that time and work with that family in order to find an alternative, maybe a future trip when this acute need has resolved. And then lastly, we have some language just around credit recovery that we're altering. That is traditional summer school, but we're just altering it slightly in order to have some recovery programs at the end of the year, heading into the fourth quarter, where students might have a very low grade in multiple classes. They might be able to withdraw from one of those classes in order to do some concentrated coursework in one of them in order to become eligible for summer school or even to pass potentially. So the idea there is just putting language in there that's a little bit more fluid and allows us to come up with some creative solutions for students in order to stay on track for graduation. And then just some miscellaneous changes, the competency determination language, which we talked about in March, will be put in. The language as far as some of our current club offerings, for instance, our personnel supports rock band as opposed to jazz band, just by their expertise, so we're changing those types of things. And obviously current fees, dates, and things like that updated.
So I'd like the committee to just entertain my idea, if we go through any questions regarding everything but the cell phone, and kind of work backwards and maybe take the cell phone up last. So kind of looking at the list, the first question I had regarding the MIAA eligibility, does every student get like a clean slate every term? So like if they're not doing well in first term, that closes, and there's, could they not then potentially play a winter sport because of their eligibility?
Eligibility is, determined by the previous quarter. So for the fall sports, that's actually the fourth quarter from the previous year. So yeah, that's the way that the MIA looks at it. It's the previous marking period. First quarter, most sports are ended by the time first quarter grades come out. That would really impact winter sports. Winter sports is a tricky one because oftentimes report cards come out in January, like right at the tail end of the season, where students do sometimes lose eligibility, and spring sports works with quarter 3 basically.
Yeah. Okay. So again, just kind of, I don't want to say confining, but if we're looking at everything other than cell phones, do we want to proceed there? That works. Have at it. Nothing?
I like 5.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so Willie will open up the discussion for the cell phone portion of this. So kind of refresh our memory, currently it is off and away is recommended, but at teacher discretion.
So off and away is the policy, but the manner of enforcement is at teacher discretion.
Okay.
So previous to this year, that could really be anything. Some teachers did utilize hanging folders. Some just said, I don't want to see it. Some just said, put it in your bag. Depending on the teacher, that was how it was managed. As I said, we took a poll of our staff. It was actually unanimous in the poll anyway, that teachers wanted more guidance to have like a common one so that students transitioning from class to class wouldn't have different expectations. And that was implemented this year. To mixed success. I think it definitely was success, and teachers who needed that common expectation definitely utilized it. And just being in classes, I've seen fewer cell phone distractions out there. What we're looking to do is, again, there were some that, as the year went on, there would definitely be some backsliding on that and sort of lack of consistency. And really what we're looking to do is just make it more consistent by codifying it in the student handbook as the expectation.
Okay, so I guess my next question is if here's the part I don't like, and this is not a knock against some of these teachers, but I kind of don't like the discretion. I would like it to be off and away is the expectation, or I don't want there to be that discretionary piece. Is that part of this discussion? Because, I can think of more classes where there shouldn't be a cell phone, like woodworking, math, or any class where you're taking a test, things like that. So I guess that was kind of where I'm kind of stuck on, so if you or Mr. Shaughnessy is kind of doing a spot check on a class and you see them out, then is there repercussions on the student, the teacher, or I guess kind of take me through what that would be with this scenario, what does that look like?
So, that's part of the issue as far as it not being in the handbook, is generally when I observe a class, if I don't see cell phones out, I don't necessarily comment that, there's 10 of 23 cell phones in the holder, but if I see cell phones out, we comment on, within the sort of observation framework about safe learning environment and sort of classroom management practices, and certainly why sort of the cell phone is out being a distraction to learning there. Those types of things and those conversations are had there. In this case, a lot of that comes from that teachers have tried to implement it, or they've been very sort of, I don't know what the right word is making sure that they're very zealous in doing it initially. And then as the year winds on, they sort of lose some of that desire to do it, or it becomes a little bit of a battle that's not worth fighting with some students in those ways. And so that's what this really is trying to do, is just to maintain that, give us something that we have consistently in the handbook that we can refer to as far as the expectation for everybody.
I think this is great and absolutely needed. My main concern is how do we enforce this with all staff?
Yeah, at the beginning of the year with the expectation, we talk about just common language and common approaches to managing it, and it's the expectation when students come in. And then how to have conversations with students if they're being disruptive about it, how to handle it as far as asking them to leave the classroom. If students are just not putting it in there and not being disruptive, how you handle that, where you have a conference with a student, where you then consult with administration, those types of things. And really just building up kind of progressively if a student doesn't live up to expectations, just like they would in any other expectation in the classroom, how you manage that. But really, it is kind of working with teachers on that, making sure that's something that's consistent throughout the course of the year, and that it's something, ultimately what we'd love to get to is a situation where students just all walk in automatically and put it in the holder and they're not an issue. And that would be the dream, and that just really takes a lot of work of consistently working to make sure that occurs. And that's what, again, we're trying to move towards with this codifying of the handbook.
I think another point of this too, that this isn't new. A lot of schools have gone to this, hanging pocket folder, or whatever you want to call it, where, as we all know, you can put a phone in your pocket, you can put it away. The temptation is always going to be there, especially if you think you're missing something. I can guarantee you everybody in this room at one point or another has checked their phone, probably when they're not supposed to. So my biggest thing is to have everyone's phones in one spot, in the front of the room, hanging on a thing, to me kind of just wipes out any of the discretionary stuff. I think there's going to be points in classrooms where the teacher might need them to have their phone, whatever that may be, maybe calculator-wise or something, everything's kind of there. But I feel like once we kind of take that and put it where everyone's doing the same thing and it's across the entire school, quite frankly, I hope the entire district, that this is kind of ingrained. So by the time they get to the high school, they're used to doing this already in middle school. If we have to, we'd already adopt it at the Yale school. To kind of get this motion in place that cell phones are important, they're great to have, but at the same time, we know how much they affect learning in the classrooms. That's not just us saying it. Every single research that you read, has that exact same, that mentality. So I think this is a great step in the right direction. I don't think it's overly burdensome. I don't think it's, over the top in terms of not having a phone at school at all, place in a locker, stay in your car, whatever. I think this is kind of a happy medium. I know we had kind of this exact same thing come forward in 2022 and I was for it then, and in 2025 I'd be for it again.
So I did have one question. So with the card policy, before we make a change, if a student doesn't want to, like if there's a teacher that requires it as part of their classroom and a student refuses, could they be referred to the office?
Oh yeah.
So, so where I'm going with this is on the flip side, if it's not required of that teacher in their classroom, and they just say, put your phone away, could they also then be referred as well for a disciplinary? Because I guess what my question is, if the expectations aren't clear and present for the students from the teacher, could they still just refer that student?
I mean, they have to make the expectation clear and present. And we do at the beginning of the year, we have class meetings where we talk about this is going to be the expectation. And again, it's really just about doing everything we can to make sure it's as consistent as possible across the board, and making sure that everyone is following it with it being in the handbook there. So we do really try to put it front center so it's not surprising students where they come into a classroom, what, I have to put my phone away? Like, no, that is the expectation everywhere we go.
So I think just to clarify that, so the plan with this proposed change would be every single classroom has some type of hanging folder, I'm just going to say on the back of the door, that all the students, every single class period, after they get out of their hallway, the phone goes in that holder. It doesn't matter what the teacher says necessarily, that is the expectation of Norton High School.
That's the expectation, yeah, with this change.
Go ahead, sorry, please go ahead.
No, it does put, by putting in the handbook, it shifts some of the responsibility to administrative staff to make sure we're enforcing that as well as a classroom managed behavior. So we kind of divide those two things, yes.
I think the thing that I really like about the addition of this language is that the cell phone stays in the holder during the entirety of the class period and may not be removed when a student leaves the classroom. I think that is probably one of the biggest challenges, just from me being at the high school, talking to our high school staff, is the things that happen when kids have their phone and they meet each other during class, right? Whether it's in the bathrooms and, the issues that occur there or in the hallway. One of our former principals used to call them hallway dates, and they would text each other and go on their little hallway date. But I think, to me, if you're getting up and going to the restroom, you don't need your phone. You can stay in the holder. And quite honestly, this change is all enforcing common expectations, which is what we do with PBIS, within the constructs of our current cell phone policy. So we're going to talk about the cell phone policy tonight. I'm going to share some ideas with all of you. But we can do this under our current structure as well. So I think it's a good, as Nick, as you said, a good step in the right direction.
That is the benefit from off and away. Could be in a pocket, therefore it's accessible to a student outside. And I think it would be pretty easy. I haven't seen the scientific study, but trips out of the classroom with a phone, without a phone, I guarantee without a phone is much shorter. There's less time wasted.
I have one final question. I know at the high school there is the ePass program, and there is the option that the students can have this on their phone if they leave the classroom. So I guess what is the plan if this policy, as approved, says they can't leave? Is there another option for those kids who are excused from class for a valid reason to then?
So the passes work on Chromebooks as well. I mean, that was our guidance at the beginning of this year, is that Chromebook passes should be made on Chromebooks, not on cell phones. They still can be during lunch or during LLB, if they're making a pass, or if they're doing something like seeing a teacher after class, they have their cell phone, they can make the pass to go to another class late. But yeah, leading on the Chromebook is what we would do. Depending on availability of devices, that also has what's called a kiosk mode. We've talked about teachers actually having a dedicated Chromebook at the door that a student can sign out and leave on that dedicated Chromebook. We don't have the devices to do that right now, but we can work with Karen and sort of see if that's a possibility as well as having that kiosk mode for those.
So the question was,
So,
go ahead.
So
Tim,
the
please.
question I had was, we do have students with a medical need that may need a phone. I know, for example, the diabetes scanner. So obviously those would be the exception to this policy, which would be clearly articulated, and likely I can see his hand raising and Casey nodding that they would probably have some sort of medical note or a health plan or something like that. That would be the exception to all this.
Yeah, absolutely. Students 504 IEP that have that accommodation built into it would automatically supersede this.
Okay. That was my only question. Actually, that was my final question, I should say. Anybody else?
Yes, I had a question about, so as a student, I find that I focus better when I do have my phone away from me, because when it's in my bag, I do check it from time to time. But when it's up on the wall away from me, I'm really able to get my work done better. But how would you suggest dealing with the issue of like fake phones? Because people put up like empty phone cases and calculators and all kinds of things. So how would you enforce that it's an actual phone?
Way to hit the ground running, Leah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no good suggestion. I mean, I don't have a great suggestion for that. I certainly, we're not going to have teachers sort of making sure that phones have current text messages on them or something to verify that they're the actual phone that a student's using. I mean, definitely it would be if the student then has a phone. That the kind of sort of parallel policy with this, or parallel thing, is when we have teachers on bathroom duty or hallway duty, is that if they see a student with a phone, like they shouldn't have it, should be in the classroom. So that would mean that either that student put a fake phone in the holder, or there's not a consistent expectation within that classroom. So it's really just working through those situations and talking to those students, figuring out what class they are, and kind of tracking down what the situation would be. And obviously if a teacher does discover that, like a student has a phone out in class when there is the right number of phones in the holder, then that's obviously an issue to refer as well.
Is there going to be consequences set in place if, say, there is a student out in the hallway with their cell phone? Sorry.
So, as far as we have this question from staff a lot as far as automatic consequences and things, and we do shy away from having that language in our handbook just because there's always some difference that does it, and we'd rather investigate what that is. So what we would suggest, and we'll definitely have language for teachers, is ask, what classroom you're coming from, is there a reason why you have your cell phone, is how you would start that conversation. And then it might be the student put a fake one up there, it might be the teacher didn't have them put them up. So therefore we'll be sorting out and figuring out what the situation was and dealing with it appropriately. If it's a consequence for the student for putting a fake phone up there, certainly we do that all the time with referrals and detentions and consequences students for that. If it's something that we have to reinforce that expectation of the teacher, then that would obviously be a different situation. So just trying to get to the bottom of why a student would have a phone in that situation.
Something that students have the opportunity to do at the high school is that they're able to bring their own device. And personally, what I've seen, I do it too, is that a lot of students have iPads and Macs now. And I feel like most students have an iPhone. Even if you put that iPhone up, and this is for Apple Watches too, it is a fully functioning phone, just in a bigger device. So I don't know if there was language around how we were going to go about that, because maybe more Mrs. Winsper, but
yeah, there are Chrome extensions that allow for messaging as well that are operable on cell phones, things like that we continually try to work on. I don't want to advertise some of the workarounds of GoGuardian, which is certainly what we use to try to manage Chromebook and even devices that are school-owned. And so yeah, there's no great answer for that other than we have to be present in the classroom, walking around, seeing what are on student screens, making sure they're working on what they're supposed to be working on, doing a mix of in-paper as well as on the device, having routines around the Chromebook devices or your own device in the classroom as well, that they're only open when I say, okay, it's time to take that out and do this activity. You don't just sort of have it open on your desk. So there's classroom management techniques that would hopefully help with that, that all teachers are pretty well versed in, and we can kind of work on some of that consistency with that as well. But really that's going to be a constant issue. I don't think it's going away. Wearable technology is only going to advance more as we move forward, and there's going to be more opportunities to access it. But we just have to adapt and do the best we can.
I think, obviously implementing something like this and asking for consistent expectations from classroom to classroom, the biggest problem is going to happen when we roll it out, right? For our current high schoolers that have been used to having their phone on their person, wherever they may be. And I have a lot of middle school teachers here tonight, and my understanding is that the middle school students should not have their phones in their classroom at all. They should be either in their locker or in their backpack. Is that correct? All right, I'm getting some thumbs up in the audience. So the first couple of years are going to be challenging, but the hope is that when as your middle schoolers, rise up to the high school, you have, a new crop of freshmen coming in, that they've already been used to not having their phone on their person. They're used to having it in their backpack or in their locker. And so it's the other students that we're going to have to, primarily work with. But it's, as Dr. Dolman said, it's consistent expectations from classroom to classroom. It's finding out, is it a student issue where they're not, where they're being, I don't want to say sneaky, but ultimately they're putting something in the pocket that is not a cell phone or not a functioning cell phone, or is it, resetting expectations with teachers? And we're going to absolutely run into some of these challenges from time to time. But until we kind of get there and hash it out and see how it goes, I think you don't know what you don't know.
Well, I think we have to start somewhere. So, as Benson mentioned, that might be, the policy 2.0 down the road when we see we can kind of start with this policy. It looks good. We're getting, buy-in from the teachers, which it sounds like they're on board with. And then obviously, the students, will buy in eventually. But I think, starting with a good policy in place and then building upon it is probably the best way to go for this type of scenario. And then we'll see if there's more guidance from the state, because I know there's been some bills introduced and things like that. So
I was just going to piggyback that the top-down approach, I think, is the best way to do this. I have a middle school right now, so, I kind of know the lay of the land. And again, I think, the current lack of consistency is not, the onus of the teacher itself. It's just, again, it's difficult when you start dealing with teenagers, how to enforce these things. Any parent of a teenager knows that. So I think having, us working towards that universal policy, and then that kind of takes that pressure off of the teacher to have to balance of, when the kid argues back, well, so-and-so, let's just do that. It really gets very muddied and difficult. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation and we're going to work from the top down.
I also just want to mention that the school committee and myself received a letter yesterday from a number of high school staff members that encouraged the school committee to support this policy change at the high school and this handbook change. So thank you to Dr. Kiefer for writing the letter and for sending that to us, and thank you to the teachers that shared their thoughts and signature with the committee as well. I just want to recognize that.
all right, this time I will entertain a motion to approve the student handbook updates for Norton High School as presented.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And Dr. Dolman, I want to publicly thank you for your time here at Norton. I know you're moving on to bigger and better things, but we do thank you for your leadership here at Norton High School. All right, the next item is our district alignment discussion and vote with Dr. O'Neill.
Okay, thank you. So at our last meeting, we discussed the district alignment study and the challenges that we were having kind of doing this work internally. And I had shared with you two different proposals. One was from Dillinger Research and Applied Data. And that was, as we discussed, a little bit more of an a la carte project with an hourly rate. And the other was Ross Heber and Associates with a set rate for the entire project. The biggest challenge for us right now is really looking at the way that our lines are drawn, specifically between JCS and LGN, and with all of the building that's happening in town, looking at enrollment and trends and data. And while we have a fantastic team and we have a fantastic group of community members that have worked on this. None of us are really familiar with the geo-mapping component, which makes it a little bit more challenging. So what we had decided to do last time was to table the conversation until the committee had a little bit more time to look at both proposals overall. As I shared with you last time, both companies are very well known across the state of Massachusetts. I shared, the recommendations of where I received them from, some of the work that they've done in the communities, school districts where they've worked. I think, we really couldn't go wrong with either of these proposals. Mrs. Hatfield and I are fully aware that regardless of, which way this goes, that we will be spending a good chunk of our next 6 to 8 months, like really elbow deep in this work, and working alongside the school committee, the consultant, and then the district alignment working group that we have that has really done a great job so far. So I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee may have, or we can take a motion to move forward.
I'll just give my quick 2 cents here. That, to me, when doing the research on both of these, Dillinger and Ross Haber, I feel like Ross Haber this is their meat and potatoes. This is what they do. They obviously had a ton of different, things all over New England, New Jersey, New York, for different districts that they've done this for. Obviously, the a la carte does sound great because it could save us money. But, as I said to Jen yesterday, I feel like this is such a monster undertaking for what Norton could look like, for what our district could look like, for what the town could look like, that I really wouldn't want to try to play an a la carte game, try to say, hey, we're going to try to skip out on this. We might think we know something, but we really don't know it, and try to pick and choose, what we think we know and what we don't know. So again, the 75 to 150 hours, if you got to 150 hours, it would actually be a little bit more from Dillinger than what it would be from Ross Haber anyway. So I think I was a little bit more comfortable with Ross Haber. I know there was some concern about, how much input we would have and all that. And like I said last meeting, I think, and as Jen just reiterated, this is it's Norton, and it's going to fall on our administrators, school committee, honestly, some of our town officials as well, to make sure this project is done and it's done correctly for Norton. I feel like with Ross Haber, they've done Attleboro, they've done Stoneham. They're kind of, a little bit more, what we are and how we do things. And then Attleboro's continuing their project as we speak right now. So I would definitely lean that way. I just feel like they're a little bit more of a reputable company. They've been doing this for years. Dillinger started in 2022. So on and so forth. But I guess that's kind of my 2 cents.
So I had done a lot of Googling and a lot of
That counts as research, yeah.
Yes.
From your phone?
Yeah, from my phone, no. And also just looking at the packet and the information that you had provided us. So first I want to say thank you for giving us the extra couple weeks to really dive into this. When looking at both companies, like Nick had mentioned, Dillinger did start in 2022, 2021. Ross Haber has been around since 1995. And I know that their paperwork packet, I think, was a little off-putting, where they just listed all of their towns that they have and communities and districts that they've worked with. But at the same time, at the end of their packet, they had a list of about 15 or so specific business administrators and or superintendents that they have worked with that you can call or email to speak with to provide you with a review of how they've done. And although I did not call them, I imagine that if I were to submit a resume and I put down recommendations and people to call, I would not be putting down somebody who's going to give me a bad review. So I do think that was, I was impressed by them being able to kind of outline that information. Additionally, I just think Ross Haber, the background, he was in education. He worked in all levels, I believe, and he also was an administrator, and then also post-secondary. So I feel like he has this perspective of not just let's type in these numbers and throw it into a computer system and see what pops out and then analyze the data. I think having that real world experience also is really important, especially understanding how does the classroom work, how does the school work, whereas I didn't feel like the same kind of background was there with the Dillinger Associates. And then when I thought about the a la carte and the potential financial savings, sure, but then I also thought, I'd rather know that if we're doing something, we are doing this soup to nuts. Like we are getting every aspect that these companies can provide us, where I thought, well, if we decide to pick and choose certain aspects, are we gonna miss something because we don't maybe understand fully what, I guess we know what a geomap is, but maybe there's like another part and we're like, no, I don't think we need that, but we actually do need it, and then we're not really getting all of the information we need. So for me, I thought Ross Haber, I guess it's a little more, initially, but again, Dillinger, we don't know what it would cost us. I just feel like we're getting the full package. I think another concern that was brought up was about the community involvement. I Googled and I looked up Attleboro. Attleboro right now is in, I believe, according to their website, they're in phase 1, but they may be a little bit further. But it is directly listed on their website. They have a specific link that's for redistricting. It is very outlined. They have all of the phases. There's several spots where there's community forums, community involvement. And I do think that is going to be on the Norton districts, like our team, in order to make sure that we are including the community as much as possible and keeping them informed. And I felt like, what I saw through Attleboro, who is using Ross Haber right now, that was very apparent to me, that the community has many opportunities to be involved, and they had this whole outline. So I don't think Ross Haber probably is the one that put that together. I think that particular part of their website, I'm sure, was gathered and put on by their web department or tech department through Attleboro, but the fact that it was there, I think really just says a lot that they are willing to work with the community. So again, I would have to echo Nick's kind of 2 cents, in that I feel like Ross Haber would be a better option for us.
Anyone else?
I think Justine said it all.
Sorry. I told you, a lot of Google. Spent a lot of hours on this one.
Okay.
I know we were talking about doing this through school choice funding.
Correct.
Is there a reason why, I know we can't probably do it now, it's probably a little late in the game, because we don't want to wait either, but why wouldn't we have put this through capital?
I think it was too late in the game, because the spring capital stuff is due in November, and so we weren't at that point.
It was too late because we had a different department come through.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, again, I know things come up, and obviously something like this is critical to what we're trying to do, and we don't obviously want to wait, and it's not, $19,000 is a lot of money, but it's not a $1.2 million thing or something along those lines. But I would just kind of like to make sure that if we are planning these things, that we do take advantage of some of the abilities we might have with offsetting some of our cost. Doing these type of things, obviously, where it is going to affect the entire town of Norton, I think would definitely be something we could put, on capital in future. Obviously, I don't want to hang this up any longer than it has.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to, lost it, approved district realignment using Ross Haber and Associates.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No, sorry, aye.
Thank you all.
All right, next is our district policy on cellular phones and similar electronic devices. Dr. O'Neill.
Okay, so I actually shared a section of the document that Dr. Dahlman was referencing earlier, the cell phones and social media in schools, a toolkit for school leaders and communities. So this is actually a new document that just came out in January of 2025. And as you can all see, the section I included for you was around policy. So they are focusing on 3 different types of policies here. So the first is the most restrictive, which is a phone-free bell-to-bell, which basically means that cell phones are secured upon entering the building and returned to students at the end of the day, and that students do not have access to their phones at all during the course of the day. You may have seen Brockton is one of the communities that has done this most recently. At Brockton High School, they have something called wander pouches. So as students come into school in the morning, they put their cell phone in the wander pouch and they do not get it until they walk out of the school at the end of the day. Which leads me to Leah's question earlier. How do we know that they're putting their actual phone in the wander pouch or anything else along that line? The second one, which is a more middle of the road policy, which is actually what our current district policy aligns with now, is the off and away. Cell phones are expected, in an off and away policy, cell phones are expected to be powered off and stored out of sight during the school day. And so this is something similar to what we talked about with using the pouches, and students do have physical access to their phones. And then the limited use is really the least restrictive, instructional periods may be used between designated times in specific areas. So we're a little bit of a cross between the 2 and the 3, because right now our students are able to have their phones during LLB or during lunch. I would say that the middle school probably more closely aligns with the middle off and away, and they don't have them during lunch or other points during the day. So I thought that was really important for us to kind of start by looking at how our policy aligns with these 3 recommendations. The committee also has our current policy, which was last updated in October of 22, and it really talks through the importance of minimizing cell phone use. All devices must be put away and kept out of sight for the entire duration of each class period. And then this is where we talked about kind of the teacher discretion. So what both the middle school and now the high school are attempting to do is to take our policy to the next level and really say, this is what off and away is going to look like at the high school or the middle school. We are now prescribing that and taking away that component of teacher discretion. So that is something that I think that if we're moving forward with a new policy around cell phones and other personal electronic devices, that component of teacher discretion should at least be considered. I also have shared with you, there's a whole chart in here about the benefits to each of these and the drawbacks and the challenges and the age group considerations. And there are also links to specific communities that have implemented each of these policies for just a reference point for us as well. So it's interesting that we talked about cell phone policies tonight at the high school. I think the committee was fairly pleased with the changes that are being made there. It helps us kind of find a good middle of the road. One of the things that we heard from families last time was concerns about getting a hold of their student if there was an emergency. We have phones in every single classroom in every single one of our buildings. If there's a true emergency, parents can call the school office and we will absolutely find your child. But there potentially could be some updates that we could make to this current policy around, since we are now prescribing what this looks like in 6 to 12.
So this is the first reading of the policy, so I guess the committee will have a little homework if they want to see any changes, bring them to the next meeting and have them added at that point. But this is just the first reading, but this does kind of align us with what we were discussing with the high school earlier, as well as the middle school is a little bit more, I'd call it strict. But again, it's about expectations as they move school to school.
So my recommendation for the committee would be to eliminate the last sentence in the first paragraph, which says manner of enforcement of student compliance with the district's off and away during class. Expectation shall be at teacher discretion. We could just simply eliminate that sentence right there. Or we could even say, please refer to the school handbook for specific guidance on how this will be done at each grade level. You also saw, must have been 2 weeks ago, the elementary handbooks also all updated their language around cell phones and personal devices. So it is expressly prohibited at JCS and LGN, where the Yale school does follow the same policy as the middle school, where they should be either in this child's backpack or the locker for the course of the entire day.
Yeah, and that was going to be one of my recommendations is, striking the teacher discretion, then, as you mentioned, adding, please refer to your school's handbook for further clarification.
And ultimately, we all know how challenging or how cumbersome it can be to actually update policy over and over again because of the first reading, the second reading, the going back and forth. So if we were to take out that last sentence, I think we've just discussed that we kind of agree with the body of the first paragraph. Otherwise, it's much easier for us to update the handbook. And now that we don't print handbooks and send them home with every single child, it's just updated on our website. Those we could update a little bit more regularly if or as needed.
I mean, I feel like we're gonna make a change to a policy. I think this policy is pretty self-explanatory in the Norton High handbook. It's simple. Students are supposed to place their cell phones in a rack, blah, 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 blah. Our policy, as currently written, has a lot of words and stuff on a page that just makes no sense in terms of what we're trying to do at the high school level, if you will.
You want something really simple.
Yes, because like I'm reading this, right, and it's like all such devices must be put away and kept out of sight for the entire duration of each class period. Well, yes, because if we're going to adopt a policy for the entire district where they're going to be put away, we don't have to worry about that. Students are not permitted to utilize such devices for calls, text, social media, games, blah, 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 and other activities during class time without express teacher permission. Well, they're going to be put away for the class, and that sentence can be deleted. Teachers may allow the use of cellular phones or personal devices for educational purposes. That probably stays in. Should there be an urge for a family member to, contact the school's main office, I think that one's fine. I just feel like when I think about, when I think about written policy, I think the more simple and defined and straightforward it is, the less questions and people going back to our policy saying, well, that's not what the policy says. He wasn't texting or playing a game or doing that. He was, who knows what they're doing on the phone. So I just feel like don't even open up Pandora's box. Keep it simple. Students are expected to put their cell phones in pockets throughout the entire district of Norton, and that's kind of what we roll with. And then the high school, hopefully, after 3 years or so, won't have any of these, won't have as many issues with cell phones because it's going to be ingrained in their heads from the start of Yale School on middle school. I don't even know, kids in 3rd grade and 2nd grade have phones now.
So my recommendation would not be to say put them in the pocket, because the middle school and the Yale School are even more restrictive than that. But what I would say is I would keep the language about minimizing cell phone. As such, the district expects all students or basically something along the lines of the district expectation is that, cell phones are not used in school except with the express permission of the teacher for educational purposes. Please see your child's handbook for more specific information about how, about what cell phone rules look like in their school. And then you say, should there be an urgent need for a parent, guardian, et cetera, you include that there and that's it.
Yeah, there's under the phone-free bell-to-bell description, you could use that part too, in the chart that you had.
Yes. Thank you, Audrey. Are we good with that? And I'll bring that back with new language for the next time.
For the middle school, they're not supposed to have their phones on It's supposed to be in a backpack all day long, or in a locker.
Yeah, so they do not have them at lunch, they do not have them at passing time.
How does that go?
It's the expectation.
Oh, Timmy's waving his head back and forth.
I saw a lot of smirks over there, so I was kind of wondering
Depends on
that.
the grade level.
Well, I mean, again, as we mentioned, we have to start somewhere, and, you know, we'll keep working at it, and, you know, I know you said it's wording, Nick, but welcome to Policy Readings 101.
The best is when we do all of the sections in a year.
Don't mention.
That's so much fun.
That was, all right. All right, so I think we've kind of given the feedback, everybody did their homework early, which is great. So we can look at those changes, if we have to run it by legal again, just to dot and cross, then we'll do that. All right, so next is a vote on FY '26 budget as approved at town meeting. Mrs. Hatfield.
Very simple, that's pretty much it. We need a,
I gotta give you a spotlight, come on.
we need to vote on the approved town meeting budget amount for FY '26, which is $37,101,669.
First, I want to thank all of those at town meeting. It was, in my 22 years in town, it was a very unique experience at town meeting. And I'll just leave it at that. So, entertain a motion to approve the budget as approved at town meeting in the amount of $37,101,669.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is other business topics not anticipated.
Nothing on my end.
I have nothing as well.
All good?
See you tomorrow for class night.
Correct. All right, so we will do a roll call vote because we are going to enter into executive session, not to return to our regular session. So entertain a motion to adjourn our regular meeting.
So moved.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Mrs. Callahan?
Yes.
Mr. Schleicher?
Yes.
Audrey?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you.